Welcome to my journey home to the Latin Mass.
Ladies and gentlemen, today we have another testimony. This is by Olivia, and Olivia is going to tell us about her journey to the Latin Mass. We'll just start briefly with your early life. Were you born Catholic or were you a convert? And at what point in time was your first Latin Mass? How did you get here? That kind of thing.
Okay. So I remember going to Mass every Sunday when I was younger to Novus Ordo Parish, and it was just like a Sunday thing. Didn't really think anything of it. In middle school, I went to like a public school, and I just thought maybe it'd be cool to go to a Catholic school.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked my mom, and I went to a Catholic high school, and it was still very Novus Ordo, but I feel like I grew a lot in high school spiritually. But I remember thinking, like, wow, I wish we had traditions of some kind. Because I feel like other religions have really, like, old aspects.
Yeah.
And I just didn't really see any of that, really.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It was just something that I really thought about a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish that we had. But, so, freshman year of college, I wanted to make Catholic friends, so I joined the Newman group. And one day someone sent a message in the group me saying, oh, like, we're going to a Latin Mass. It's really cool. Like this message if you want to come. So I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is, but I just liked it.
Okay.
And so I went, and I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
I thought it was amazing, and it just felt so different. And it was everything that I've looked for my whole life, it felt like.
Oh.
And from that point on, I was just like, every time, like, it's offered, like, I want to go to this.
Wow.
And so that's what happened.
You were a freshman at that time.
Yeah.
And so you really didn't know, you had this desire for tradition, but you didn't know exactly in Catholicism where it was.
Yeah.
So it just kind of happened that you stumbled into this.
Mm-hmm.
And now, was the language itself an obstacle to you, or did you see the mystery involved as something attractive?
I thought it was attractive. I feel like I generally like to listen more than talk anyway.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy just, like, watching the Mass and, like, looking at, like, what the priest does and, like, listening to him and just, like, observing everything.
Mm-hmm.
I like that better than having to, like, respond
Yeah.
back and forth.
Yeah. And you were one of the first, let's call them early adopters of this particular friend group that came here. And how have you seen the dynamic of this group grow? Because when you first started coming, it was like, what, there was 3 or 4 kids, and that was it, right?
It was a car of 5.
A car of 5, and now you got a situation where you have multiple cars, and this has all been in the span of, like, how many years ago was your first Mass? It was...
It was
what year?
2018.
2018, wow, so
Fall.
that's, okay, fall of 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that was a while ago, and so can you describe what you've seen in terms of the attendance and the number of people who have been coming and the interest?
Well, more people have definitely been interested. I didn't know it was controversial on campus, like, at all.
Yeah.
At all my freshman year. But,
What is it? And that's a good, that brings up something, because Mary in her testimony had talked about dividing the community or whatever. What do you think, what is that dynamic? Can you explain what the conversations were and what people's feelings were about the sort of conflict that arose because of the Latin Mass?
people generally said, like, that we were dividing the community and that we weren't being loyal to the on-campus
Okay.
Catholic community.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, that thought never really occurred to me because I figured, well, this is, like, Catholic Mass,
Yeah.
traditional Latin Mass. Like, why would anyone have a problem with that?
Yeah.
Like, I would think that they would want us to grow spiritually,
Yeah.
and this really helps with that.
So you never saw why anybody would raise this objection?
I did later,
Oh, okay.
when I was, like, a junior,
Mm-hmm.
like, in the fall. things got wild
Yeah.
a little bit.
There was a controversy.
Yeah.
That's kind of bizarre because in my college experience, like there was a person who attended the Latin Mass. When he invited people, everyone was just kind of like, they weren't really interested, but they weren't like, you're dividing the community. They were just like, oh, well, if you like that, then that's fine. They were fine with him going. So it's like, I don't understand why that
Yeah.
division exists, like why the people create division, but
Yeah.
that's kind of diverging from the point. We did have an audience question.
Yes, I did want to ask. I wanted to ask why you wear that terrible symbol of the patriarchy on your head at the mass, and only women have to do it. What's that about?
He's asking.
And what do you feel about that?
He's asking about the veil.
The veil.
I think.
Yes, the veil.
Nobody, because one thing was, nobody told you, didn't you just start showing up to mass and you're like, oh, there's women wearing veils, they're nice, I'll get one. Is that true or is that made up?
Kind of. Like,
Kind of true?
kind of true.
Okay.
My freshman year, I remember seeing the women in the pretty veils. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, that's so pretty. I want to do that one day, maybe.
Yeah.
And then my sophomore year, I remember talking about it, and then my boyfriend got me a veil. And I was like, oh, now I'm gonna
No, I'm a real
do
trad.
it.
Well, quite honestly, it seems like that's based on women I've talked to. They've said the reason they veil is because they kind of feel left out.
Okay, so you mentioned that you first started attending the Latin Mass as a freshman, and now are you a junior? Or
Yeah,
you're a junior, okay. So in this time period of 2.5, 3 years, whatever it is, how has the ethos of the Latin Mass and being involved in this traditionalist movement, how has that impacted you and your identity and what your goals are in life and who you want to be?
Well, before I started going to the Latin Mass, I feel like I was more focused on like career stuff, and in the back of my head, like I always thought like it would be cool to like stay home and like take care of my family, but I didn't think that I would ever find a man who would want me to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, well, I'm just gonna focus on my career then. And after coming to the Latin Mass, like I saw like these huge families, and like I met people who thought that that was the normal thing for like mothers to stay home, and like the family is the main focus. I don't know, I felt like it just all made sense.
Yeah. You had mentioned, you have been attending the Latin Mass for 2.5, 3 years now. How has this group of friends, who, as you said, more and more people have become interested in the old Mass, how has this friend dynamic or group, can you describe how that's grown and the impact that that's had on other students, and in terms of your ability to, in some sense, evangelize fellow students, whether they be Catholic or non-Catholic?
Freshman year, out of my friend group, I feel like it was mostly just me
Mm-hmm.
and some like older upperclassmen guys. So, I mean, I wasn't really like friends with them, but sophomore year, like my friends started kind of going, and like Mary started going, my friend Mary, and I feel like it kind of started spreading.
Mm-hmm.
Like slowly, more of my friends started going,
Mhm.
and like their friends started going, and then like we all kind of became a friend group, and like we started becoming, I don't know, it just kind of started spreading around.
Yeah. Did you notice any hesitancy? You never had any hesitancy in beginning to attend the old Mass, but did you notice hesitancy among other friends or people that you would talk to and invite?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
A lot of them didn't want to go far away from
Okay.
Mass,
Yeah.
and they didn't want to separate from the community on campus.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Olivia. Thank you, Ryan. This has been My Journey Home.